Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Serious Strategy Gamer and we are returning to Rule the Waves 3. Last time around we did win a great victory, so I want to talk a little bit about that, do a bit of an after-action review, see how that influences our strategy going forward. But we'll also need to pick up the pieces here and build everything back together, because we have some issues here and we need to make sure that that victory hasn't been a Pyrrhic victory for us. So, before we go into that, let's remind ourselves of that great victory. We won and sunk quite a number of enemy ships, especially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 battleships that have been sunk in that battle of very significant tonnage. Do we know how many people are on this? No, we don't. But yeah, it's been a fairly significant victory in that sense, and I want to make sure that we take the right lessons here. And I think a victory of this proportions would be reviewed in history. This is something like the Battle of the Tsushima Strait, where everyone looks at that and draws their conclusions, and that enters and influences naval design going forward very strongly. So I think the most important turning point in that battle was our destroyer attack. The enemy battleships came in, our battle line was going sort of parallel to them, slightly turning away, and we sent in our destroyers to win a little bit of time. And only 3 destroyers, I think, launched their torpedoes, and they absolutely caused havoc. A couple of torpedo hits there, and a lot of their battleships were effectively out of actions. They had become sitting ducks, and then our battleships did the rest and really put them under the waves. Now, I think that's an important lesson in both of these regards. A, our strategy of focusing on torpedoes and doing a very strong torpedo focus is, I think, very advantageous. So that's good. That's a vindication of our sort of Jean de Gaulle light force approach. But at the same time, I feel our battleships did play 2 important roles here. Firstly, they were fixing the enemy battle line as they were coming in, and we actually were enabling our destroyer attack by having that battle line in battle ready and pounding damage. The second important bit is they were the ones to really finish off the enemy fleet, because our torpedoes did a lot of damage, but not quite enough. And I think one of the reasons for that is we did not actually, although I thought I had clicked that button, we don't actually use magnetic pistons. So we are going to do that, and that means that we're going to see more dots, but it will also increase target damage. We're not going to... we are going to do it. I was thinking that we don't need to do that for now, because we're probably not going to face that many enemy capital ships anymore. And against large ships, there's really a little bit too much. But on the other hand, I will forget if I don't click that now. So I think that will mean that we can do more damage with our torpedoes in the future. And maybe we don't need the battleships to finish off the enemy quite as badly. But I still think it's important to have them around as sort of a hard block. And that shifts the focus of our battleships a little bit from dealing damage towards absorbing damage. So a little bit more on the armored side and a little bit less on the heavily gunned side. Destroyers, I think they're cool. We'll build a lot more of these as we are getting the funds ready, and we're going to focus on torpedoes a lot. I think I like that. There's a third reason, or third lesson that I think we should take, and that is our battleships were not able to close in with the enemy to really finish them off. And that is because they had so many destroyers there that we were having issues getting there ourselves without being torpedoed to smithereens ourselves. So in that regard, I think we'll need a little bit more light guns, and we'll need to keep that in mind, light or medium guns, to really take that into account, probably on a couple of light cruiser platforms, maybe heavy cruiser platforms, stuff that we can send forward to clear out the enemy light forces and then come in with our heavies. Last lesson I do want to take away from that is our carriers. They were kind of rubbish going forward. They dealt more damage against us than the enemy did, probably, and that is a bit of an issue. So I think offensively they failed. They failed pretty badly. On the other hand, I do think they contributed quite a bit defensively. We didn't have that great AA, which we could see on a couple of the air attacks of ourselves and the enemy coming in. So I think our fighters were kind of crucial in fighting off a couple of the enemy air attacks. So maybe focus a little bit more on air defense with our carriers rather than anything else. Probably not going to launch a new carrier anytime soon, but yeah. Right, with that little view back, let's focus on the current situation. We are currently being blockaded, and that means we could win the battle but lose the war here, and that's an issue. You can see the British forces are sort of the same as us, slightly more actually, which means they do get to blockade us. And the reason for that is they have a significant amount of forces left. 5 heavy cruisers, 10 light cruisers. We only have 2 battleships, 8 light cruisers and such. So they still have a lot of forces, and we don't. The reason for that is this down here, status. If this is active forces, AF, that means our ships are ready. TP means trade protection. WU means working up. So these are all the normal ships, but if there's a number, then these guys are in dock due to damage. And the number indicates how many months, how many turns there's going to be left. Now, as you can see, most of our heavy forces, especially our very heavy battleships, Yashima, Mikasa, these guys are all in dock, as is the Sagami, as is the Asama. So these ships all in dock and all being repaired right now. That causes two things. A, the maintenance goes up dramatically. I think you can see that probably on the... Do we have any ship? Yeah, you can see that on the Takama. So these guys are costing us about twice as much as normal in the maintenance category, but more importantly, they don't contribute to the force distribution here. So we need to make sure that we can get a couple of our ships ready, because being blockaded is super bad. That means the unrest level might go up, and if unrest goes high enough, then even though you have a lot of victory points, your population might just deem it appropriate to surrender. Now, we hope that that's not going to be the case, but let's try to make sure that we're going to get our fleets ready. The other big issue is, due to all of these increases in maintenance, just look at the monthly balance here, minus 5 million, and we are actually in the red here, so that's pretty bad. Let's try to save some money. We're going to do this first, and spend a lot less on research. That already saves quite a bit. We are also probably going to need to halt the construction of quite a couple of these ships here. Yeah, I mean, I would love to build this stuff, but for now, let's hold the construction here, simply to save some money. Get back in the black again, because otherwise I think our morale is also going to drop, and that would not be great. The other thing is, if all of these guys here are being repaired right now, it's a good time to see whether we can or should be rebuilding these guys. For example, mostly a refurbishment here would cost 3 months. If you are already out of action for 2 months, that would be a good time. On the other hand, we've got an advanced director here. We could deal a little bit with the AA stuff, but we don't need to really. There's nothing that I want to withdraw here. So honestly, this ship is okay. It's not perfect, but I don't think this actually warrants the 4 million that this would cost us to put into the dock. So that's a no on these guys. The Mikasa, on the other hand, they are only in dock for a month, and I would like these guys to get back, actually. That being said, we could put a director on the secondaries, which would make our life a lot easier there. I think we'd also want to clear out all of these torpedo mounds, so that wouldn't be the worst decision. Now, on the other hand, we don't think that these guys have a lot of future with these center turrets here, so if we delete R turret and Q turret, that would still only be 3 months, which I do find a little bit surprising. But that would potentially allow us to use guns for our secondaries. And let's auto-place them because they're a little bit silly. Which would in turn allow us to do that in dual-purpose mounts. Which would in turn give us heavy AA, which is actually kind of useful. I think we might go without tertiary guns for now. On the other hand, a couple of tertiary guns might also be useful. Let's have them in dual mounts too. Now this is already costing us quite a significant amount of money, but I think it's not the worst choice. Is that even legal? Yeah, we could also replace the engine, and we might actually need to do that because you're only at 21 knots. This, on the other hand, would be super expensive. And this is probably not... How far can we go up with the speed? 26 knots. That's the most you can do. And we can do that with oil. That would be a legal design, but a pretty expensive one. I don't think this is worth it. I think not. So maybe without the engine refit. So only delete RQ, get these guys here in secondaries, get you a director and dual purpose. That's around 11 million. Dual purpose here. Some heavy stuff here. AA directors. medium guns, light guns. So topside load works, weight remaining works, oil fuel is universally available, but we don't want to replace that. I do definitely want to clear the torpedo mounts because they are weak point. I don't want to use that. So honestly, this looks kind of okay-ish. I think this is a worthwhile upgrade. Yeah, we can still do that. Let's all this up to the amount possible. A little bit less maybe. There's a lot of weight remaining here. We don't need to be too concerned with that. So this should be legal. Let's save and finish that. Now I want to rebuild one of these guys. I don't want to rebuild all of them because we do need them to be ready. So that's fine. And let's also look at the Sagami. I think we just rebuilt these guys. So honestly, probably not much that we want to do here. Yeah, you're actually pretty decent. Yeah, there's nothing to be done here that immediately springs to my attention. So yeah, you're going to be alright even though you are rebuilding. Let's look at the Tokiwa, I guess is how you pronounce that. Good secondary guns, good main guns, I like that. Increased elevation. Could potentially do with an advanced director. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I don't think our heavy cruisers are going to get torpedoes. And indeed, our weight remaining here is a little bit of a concern, so that's a bit of an issue. It's not too bad. I guess we can do with a little bit less light AA guns. Yeah, I would love to get this, but we don't really have the weight to spare. Again, we could try to replace the engine. That would give us some weight because modern engines are a little bit more weight efficient than older ones, but that's just not worth it. It's such a big ask to replace them, so I don't think so. Yeah, so you know what? We're going to save that. Oh, you could have improved guns. Yeah, that's true. We have quality 1 secondary guns, so if we go down and up again, that would enable us to rebuild these guys to a higher quality. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. That's a good thing to do as a refit. And again, it's only going to be that one ship because, well, we could do this one too. Yeah, 3 months, you know what? Let's do it. Probably you're not going to get the chance. And then the Yajama. We could go for an increased elevation here on these guns. That gives them a slightly better range. Again, we can probably switch out the secondary guns. We can make them dual purpose. That's pretty expensive, but it's still a good idea so that you can actually engage other ones. And there's something off here with the auto placement because we only have 8 of these guns and we have dual turrets. So let's make sure the graphics line up there. It's not crucial, but it's still a good thing to do. AA directors, there seems to be a lot of diminishing returns here after the first one, so I think the first one is going to be alright. Let's get these here in groups of 4 because I'm always imagining them to be on a quadruple mount or something similar. And I do think what we could do is add D&E port broadside swivel mounts on torpedo tubes. That would be legal, and it does allow us to, you can see these guys are here, so it does allow us to send torpedoes off towards either direction. It's often a little bit better to put them on the center line, but I think we can only do that up to 3,500 tons. So one towards either side is, I think, a good idea. I don't think our light cruisers are going to feature torpedo reloads, but we can go for more mines here. And even that allows the top side to be not exceeded. That's a fairly expensive refit, 4 million, but I do think it makes them a lot more capable. We could actually also add further ones here, sort of in the back, quadruple. They're sort of below that, but I think, you know what? Yeah, well, graphics don't line up perfectly, but it's still okay. Oh, top side limit exceeded. Yeah, see that is not possible. So let's delete these mounts. I think it's fine to have 2 of them. It's more of a supplementary thing for a light cruiser to have, in my opinion, anyway. So yeah, that's good. Okay, let's save and finish that, and also rebuild you. There we go. I didn't even notice that we had a refit program for you. Anyway, that's good. Are we refitting 2 of you now? Yeah, we are. Oh well, that happens. It's slightly annoying because that will mean some trouble later on. because we can't then refit them. You can only refit them strictly from what you had been building. Okay, lastly, destroyer here. You have a lot of 5-inch guns. You have quite a couple of good centerline mounts here. You are a little bit over your weight. You could get an improved director. That would make this even worse. And I would love to give you dual purpose guns so that you actually do have some AA capabilities. Get rid of the light guns. Get at least one AA director. But the weight here, that is a big issue. And I don't see how we could save weight on this guy. We could switch out your machinery again. And you actually have a little bit of a rotten machinery at only 31 knots. So if we replace that, that's 2.8 million. That's a lot. That's a big replacement here. On the other hand, it does give us more weight. And that could actually be used for more torpedo reloads. Which would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Yeah, honestly, I think I like this design. It does give us a lot more AA capabilities. It does give us improved directors, so it's going to be better at fighting off enemy ships. Yeah, it's going to take some time to replace that stuff. But also the weight, the speed, seems like a decent choice. I don't think diesel is going to be better now. So yeah, okay, you know what? Let's finish that. Let's go for it. Let's rebuild her as well. I don't see anyone else who needs replacing, so unfortunately, I think what we need to do then is halt the construction on as many ships as we find here, simply so that we don't run out of money completely. Right, there we go. We are now earning 3 million. That's fine. We don't do any research. We don't actually are refurbishing anything here, which will soon change. But for now, I think we'll need to do it like that. You know what? We can resume the construction probably on some of these corvettes here. On actually all of them. And I think I like that idea because it will mean that we can use our destroyers in a more offensive role instead of trade protection. So that should be a-okay. So quite a long time here to pick up the pieces of that last battle. But let's see how things are going to go. And we have another convoy attack here. A medium battle against the enemy, and that is gonna be difficult. Nevertheless, let's try to do that. Yeah, we're gonna see an offensive minefield here, nice and lovely. We're gonna try to attack enemy ships with our land-based forces, but you can see it's just before night. It's still dusk, but there's that. Also, this seems to be a much smaller battle. We only basically have a light cruiser squadron, and is that really all that we have? Yeah, 2 destroyer squadrons. First destroyer squadron, the heroes of the last battle. And then Arkazi as an individual ship down here. And we're going to make you a core part of the light cruiser squadron. You're going to be just trying to be behind these guys. You guys are currently screening. That's okay too. So let's advance time here. We think I think we should see the first ship here soon. We can't currently control anything. There we go. There's the first unidentified ship. And that means you guys here can pretty please be just in a supporting row for the light cruisers, which means you're going to be in a single line next to that. Yeah. And that's going to be a line ahead formation like that. Right. These guys can go a lot faster here because we don't want to be torpedoed. Can be pretty sure that they have light cruisers and stuff. They might even have heavy cruisers, and I think this is their group here. What types of light cruisers do we have? How many guns? 4 5-inch guns. That's not a lot for a light cruiser. 4 5-inch guns. You're all of the same type, aren't you? 4 5-inch guns. I'm not sure that this battle is going to be in our favor here. So we might actually ask you guys to do what you did before. And try to do a torpedo run. There's the first fire. It's a Cleopatra class. You've got 9 6-inch guns. You're just way more modern than what we've got. You've got probably, you alone have all of the firepower of all of our light cruisers approximately. And there are more ships here. On the other hand, you're currently we are crossing their T, so that's actually okay. Light cruiser hit there, and that's also nice. Okay, you guys will need to turn to the south to get your torpedo attack going, and I want you to actually target that light cruiser and hopefully launch some torpedoes her way. She's probably going to be able to turn around though, so it's not going to be quite as useful as we saw in the last battle there. There's the actual convoy, and you guys can actually, you don't have a lot of torpedoes, so you can hold fire with them, and we're going to try to launch torpedoes at the actual enemy there. Right, Cleopatra class is turning about, so let's make sure that we are going around here. Yeah, we're not going to be able to catch them with torpedoes here, so they're just way too agile. That is not going to work. You guys are firing on the Cleopatra class, are you? No, you're not. Well, that's rubbish then. That is definitely your task here. And you can go back to switching fire at the destroyers. Come on, hit the Cleopatra. That's really our main target here. You can also try to get in between these guys. Cleopatra class has been hit there. That's nice to see. But of course, we'll need a lot more than a single hit. 2 more hits, but 1 hits at us. That's okay. Here comes the knight. And you know who that belongs to. Right, so let's try to get in the middle of their ships, try to raid them, and at the same time cross the T of that little destroyer there. There's also going to be the light cruiser. There's also going to be the destroyers, who's right on top of us now. But we are scoring some good hits here. I'm just hoping that he doesn't launch torpedoes. Itsumu is being hit hard here by 4 guns. That is pretty devastating. 1 near miss, but at least we are destroying that destroyer. Yeah, and Itsumu has been hit pretty badly. She's now in the rear here. We're actually going to detach her and send her back to a friendly base. That guy's done for. That's nice, at least. Not sure what that torpedo is about. Itsumu being hit again. But it's sort of okay for now. Right, let's try to go a little bit more to the north here. Okay, that destroyer down there is also being pounded now. It's pretty good, actually. More torpedoes here. Not what I really want right now, because that's just... I feel these transport ships are way too far away. Now would be okay. Okay, you don't need to be AI controlled. I would like you to come up here at... Ooh, that's a pretty bad max speed. Why? Because you've been hit pretty badly too. Let's also try to detach her. You guys can go a little bit to the north, and our goal here is to sink 6 ships and then try to get out of here. Yeah, lots of nice hits here. You can go back to torpedoing if you can. At these distances, that's a pretty nice thing to do. Unless, of course, your torpedo tubes get hit, which unfortunately is the case here. You can alter torpedo, so that's fine. Let's try to do that. That's good. Nice torpedo hit there. There's another destroyer here, which we are now battling. But ooh, lots of heavy hits here in either direction. Good amount of hits there with torpedoes. Not sure who we actually did hit, but still. Okay, you guys, you still have some torpedoes, so let's run you like that, I suppose. You guys can try to go that way. So I do think we'll need to get out of here. There's just too much going on at the same time. And we might be hit by a torpedo, which is exactly what happens. and already I would count this as a loss. But it could of course be worse. Right. You guys go up here. Try to do your thing. Okay, out of sight, and you're coming back towards us now. Who are we actually still controlling? Not you. You are still under our control. We can go down here. Try to intercept these two ships as we're going out. And it's completely confused night action, which is not untypical. That's very typical for night action. It's formations get disrupted. Stuff happens at very short distances. So these are things that do happen. Oh, look at that. We have actually friendly forces in the region. There's the heavy cruiser Tokiwa, which might mean that we need to stay around here, because if she's around, then that means she might get hit, and that means we should potentially try to destroy the enemy destroyers and such, and all of the other ships that are still around. Let's try to accelerate this slightly. And I suppose we can go up here, and let's just hit it like that. So continuous battle over here. This ship over here is still alive, and we can sink it, I suppose, because she was really crawling around here. Yeah, that's her. Is that a light cruiser? Is that something else? If it's a warship, I really want to sink it. Yeah, it is. Okay, I think now she's gonna be gone. Another torpedo launch there. It's probably not gonna work. I would really love to pick up survivors from here. These are not the best light cruisers, as we've seen. Just very few guns, very light ships, but it is what it is. Right, let's accelerate timing here a little bit. What's that? That's also light ships. That's the Cleopatra class. We don't want to be close to her. But unfortunately, she's getting close to our ships, so something to consider. On the other hand, these guys are all withdrawing. I think they're going to one of our bases here, so that's nice. Yeah. Sporadic battles over there, but that's okay-ish. Let's go to faster even. Could try to lure them into that minefield, but it's so small that I don't think it really matters. This, I think, is the heaviest cruiser squadron, which we did see earlier, so that's nice too. Oh, there they were. If they do stumble into Cleopatra, that would be lovely, but we don't need them to. We have met the objective, albeit by losing another battleship, by losing a warship, namely a light cruiser. So someone is shooting at something somewhere, and I suppose that might be over here. Or there. Who did spot that? Oh, a battle cruiser? No, I don't think there's going to be a battle cruiser there. But again, that speaks for sort of the confused night action that's going on. Oh, there was a ship there, but again, let's try to get out of here. I don't think we need to be in this battle for too long. This is not a favorable position for us to be in. Yeah. We do see that, especially on cruiser design, I think the Brits have really superior designs to us. They've got a lot more guns on their ships, so whenever we meet at night or in this type of smaller engagements, they can really do a number on us. Here is the morning, and that would have been more interesting to fight during the day. We don't have night fighting training. We could have enabled that, but we didn't. Right, so I think the game should end very soon here. We actually are going to ask you to enter port. Yeah, we're going to enter port. Let's try to get in. Really don't want to lose too many destroyers or something. Okay, there we go. We lost a light cruiser, they lost a destroyer, they had quite a couple of damaged ships, they lost 10 auxiliaries. We are, this counts as a win for us, so that's nice. But again, with one light cruiser sunk. Let's look at the light cruiser that was sunk. That was, I think, the torpedo hit. Who did score that though? Sinking, torpedo hit, disabled. Doesn't tell us who really hit them, but too bad, too bad. But that happens. So still victory for us, so that's nice. We don't need to save that. I think that was a relatively small battle. Sue has condenser trouble. That's an issue because she is... Ooh, naval budget increases. That is lovely. And we still have a... Oh, that's an interesting small bug here. And we have a research agreement with Germany, and that benefits our research into explosive shells. Keep in mind we're still at war with Germany, so evidently that's something that is still possible at the same time. We're also getting new medium bombers. All of them seem to be capable of the same heavy bomb load, although some of them are capable of carrying torpedoes at what counts as a medium bomb load, so they're going to be more interesting. They also have the better range and the better speed. So I think you here... Decent range, best speed in class, slightly more toughness, or do we want to go... I think slightly better range is actually going to be better. So yeah, you're going to be that. We're losing some stuff here and there. Ooh, prestige suffers. That's not good. Ah, but this is very nice. We have torpedoed a battleship of the enemy. That's not sunk, but it does mean that they are going to not have that battleship ready. And we're not blockaded anymore, so we now have more forces than they do, at least in Northeast Asia, although not in other areas of the map. And that is... still something that we need to fix here because we've got still a lot of ships that will need to be repaired and such. So I think it might make sense to go ahead and resume the construction on some of these rebuilds, especially the ones that are going to be ready sooner rather than later. So let's resume the construction on all of these ships. Oh no, that was too much. That was way too much. Yeah, especially on the heavy ships, that's we can't really afford that for now. Especially the Mikasa, that's a $3 million yen refit. Yen sounds too little. Right, what I'm going to do in between episodes is I'm going to look at some of these refurbishments here, see whether we can rebuild some of these ships, and by the same logic really, just see whether anything here is such that we could get it ready sooner rather than later. That being said, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Do let me know what your thoughts on the battle last time around were and what lessons we should be taking away from that for our future designs. That being said, see you around next time. Bye bye guys.